Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn and welcome to the Photographer Academy, and today it's all about separation light. So when we're shooting a portrait, we're using separation points, there's 3 of them in all, to make sure that the subject is 3-dimension in the photograph, and so they jump off the background. That's really what we're trying to achieve. When we're working in a white background or a light background, naturally there's a natural separation, but we can add even extra light onto the hair. When we're working in a lower key background like we are here, there's kind of 3 elements that can really affect separation and be used within the portrait. So obviously we've got a key light here. We've just chosen a small little key light today just to actually light the 3/4 length of the portrait. But we've got 3 elements that will be used in separation. As you can see at the 10 o'clock position here, we've got a strip box with a honeycomb. So basically these honeycombs are often referred to as egg crates as well. And they basically control the light from spilling. So without that grid on the strip box, there's a chance that some of the light would spill onto the background. So we want to make sure we've got the control. But that light is being used as the first point of separation to add a little bit of hair light and some edge lighting running about down the back of the subject. The second point of separation is the hair light that we've got running up in the background here. Now, its job speaks for itself. It's basically designed to just light the hair. So a small little honeycomb grid will allow us to actually control. It's quite high up to avoid spilling onto too much of the lower back, specifically designed to actually do the hair and the shoulders itself. The third point is a background light, and the background light will obviously make the subject really jump off the background or not. During the session, we're going to talk about the way that they can make and break an image. That's the key thing with it. So one stage at a time, let's actually shoot the whole image first as we've set it. So this is working at f8. So this is our working exposure, our working aperture. We've then metered it with a flash meter to meter each of the lights in turn. Now, as far as the separation light coming in through here is concerned, this is going to possibly touch some skin, touch some fabric, and because of its angle of light, it will increase its brightness as it reflects off. So this light, as designed, is usually 2 stops less than the key light. So if this is running powered at f8, we would meter and change the power so that we maintain an f4 on the same settings. So in this case today, we're using 100 ISO. Shutter speed doesn't really count, but we're using 125th. Shutter speed only really counts in using flash when you're using very slow shutter speed, where the modeling bulb themselves will actually affect a part of the exposure, even the ambient light at times. When we're using the hair light, exactly the same principle arrives. Why? Because the light will reflect off skin, reflect off hair. If it's powered too much, it will actually increase its brightness all the time, and we're going to have burnout of pixel, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So once more, this is, as a default, basic starting position, 2 stops less than the key light. Then we've got our background light, a small little light running in the background with no diffusion. All its job to do is basically illuminate a dark background. Now, if this was a pure black background, by having it in the middle behind the subject, it would give us a lovely kind of gradation out, a radiation of light to dark, a natural vignette onto the background. But as this has already got a dappled grey, I need less light on the background. Now, when you're metering for your background light, there's so many variables because it depends on the absorbency of the material, absorbency of the colour, absorbency of the paper itself, combined with what is on the front of the light. It could be a honeycomb grid, some gel, even a small reflector panel. So obviously there's quite a variant, but the brightest point of the background should only be behind the shoulder blades of the subject, not above, because otherwise they look like they're godly, and not below, because it would actually bring too much emphasis to the hip and the butt. So let's do the first shot where it's perfect together. We'll use all 4 lights. Then we'll switch each of the lights off in turn, do the different kind of shots so you can see, first of all 4 lights, then the key light and the separation light at the 10 o'clock, then the key light and the hair light running at the 2 o'clock position, and then of course the key light and the background light itself. So it'll allow us to really kind of see what each light is doing. Okay, so let's do that in turn then. So okay, let's do it. So in this first shot, we can see all 4 lights doing their job, with the hair light at the 2 o'clock position doing its job, giving a lovely sparkle and light to the hair. We've got the other separation light coming in from the 10 o'clock position. That's giving a 3-dimension, adding a little bit of light and sheen along the hair as well. Obviously, the key light is doing its job. Plus, of course, we've got the background light illuminating and giving an extra separation. So this shot here, you can see just what the key light does. So now in this shot, you can see where it's just the hair light. So now in this shot, you can see where it's just the background light. And this shot, you can see where it is just the separation light at the 10 o'clock position. So in this photograph, you can see we're using the key light and we're using the separation at the 2 o'clock, so a kind of a sandwich lighting technique. And it's metered, remember, at 2 stops below the working exposure. So the key light's at f8, the hair light is at the f4. Then we can see here we've got the key light and the background light. So we've got illumination and a separation from illuminating the background. And just in its minimum power, and the light is on its minimum power. The only way for me to reduce that lighting down more is to put some kind of neutral density filter in front of it, move it further away, or put a lights of a honeycomb or a diffuser on the front. And in this shot, we've got the key light and the separation strip box running at the 10 o'clock position, and that is giving us that lovely classic all light from one direction. So think about where the light is designed to come from in a natural environment. That's where the natural separation should come from. But then obviously don't be afraid to use the likes of artistic's license to bring in the likes of the hair light from the opposite side. Remember not to overpower that background light though, otherwise you can have a real distraction and make a fuller figure look even bigger than it is. So now that we've created perfection, we should break it to actually show you what happens when you overdo it. Specifically, I want to concentrate on that hair light. We're going to overpower it by 2 stops, and I want to show you the difference of how it really looks bad and starts to reflect off the skin as well. Remember that a light from behind will appear twice as bright, so as it hits a reflective surface like hair and skin, it's going to increase its value straight away by twice the amount. So in other words, if our working exposure is f8 and we actually power that light to f8, the way it reflects back in towards the camera is going to create an f16 type of exposure level. So remember, all I'm going to do here is switch on to my group 4, which operates just that hair light, as you can see. I'm now going to be increasing the power from my sky port, which is the Elinchrom system we're using. Increase that 20 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 1 full stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 2 full stops. So when I now take the photograph, it's gorgeous, we can see just by using the hair light how it begins to really overpower the image. Let's put it into its equation, so all the lights together. Same shot again, please, Kelsey, if we can. So now you can see how that increased light onto the hair really starts to bring a bright patch of light, burning pixels out. If that was touching the skin in any way, if it wasn't up as high, and if it was lowered down and actually coming in and allowed to touch the skin, it would completely obliterate the face, which would be a really bad point. So let's do it 2 more stops to show you the difference. So back to group 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's gone up another 2 stops. So theoretically now we're at f16 as far as the hair light's concerned. Let's show you what that's going to do just by itself. So you can see how it really starts to burn out the detail in the garment as well as the hair itself. Let's bring all the lights together, and now we can see how it starts to really dominate the whole effect and starts to overpower and misshapes the body through adding extra light onto the bust. So always be careful when you're using separation light without measuring the light and following a recipe. Remember, the recipe is 2 stops less than the key light as a starting point, and you're not going to go wrong. Let's show you something very similar now using the strip box and how when it spills onto the face, if the face is turned too much and it starts to act as an accent light, in other words, it actually touches skin to create a highlight, how if we overpower it, it will burn out as well. Just going to adjust group 3 up 2 stops now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's two full stops. Get in our shot. So now you can see how it overpowers the detail on the garment. Let's see it acts and the overall when we blend all the lights together. Keep it. But when we start to turn the head more towards the key light, just turning the head that way a little bit more, we're going to expose the face towards some of the separation light coming in from behind, and it starts to add too much light onto the side. So you can see those results. As soon as we increase that separation light, you've got burnout going on, and that's something in digital photography, the same as years ago in transparency photography. We can't lose the highlight information, otherwise we'll never recover it. So remember, the same recipe applies. 2 stops less is the key thing. Just want to kind of over-exaggerate it for you a minute. Let's, Kelsey, if you pop your hair behind your shoulders for me, as much as you can. Let's try and get a little bit more light onto this skin. So let's show you the correct version first. So we'll still exaggerate the face turn. Turn around towards here with me. That's lovely, it's there, let's do it. So you can see there the perfect result. Let's overpower that separation light again. Okay. And relax. So last but not least is the background light. So this is the point where we just need to increase the background power to a point of no return. So in other words, depends on how powerful your background light is and what is going to be in front of it, how it's going to over brighten it. Remember I was saying to you the brightest point of the background light should be coming from behind the shoulder blades. Let's look at that. So Kelsey, just pop the pose in for me. That's lovely. So you can see there the illumination of the background. Let's just increase the power by a stop. I'll just take the photograph first. So you can see here already how it's beginning to kind of over brighten, go into a higher key, a higher tonality of grey, which we want to avoid. Let's just increase it by another stop again. Again, keep it. So in this image, you can see it's 2 stops brighter than it was originally, and it's beginning to actually really overpower and brighten the background, distracting away from the face. And obviously, we want the viewer to look in at the face rather than actually anything else. There is a way that you're underpowering with separation as well. If we put a honeycomb grid on there, or as I said, put a neutral density on there, it's not going to have the same effect. So we're looking to harmonize the whole scene. So remember the recipe. The recipe is the key light, the working exposure. In this case, it's F8, but you might be F4, 5, 6, whatever. Then the separation lights are down by 2 stops. And then all depending on what your background color is and the absorbency that it has, you need to work from the minimum power up to make sure all the lights harmonize together. Good luck with your photography. See you on the next session. Bye-bye.